Stop obsessing over food with the simple mindset change. Hi warriors, it's Hanne here and welcome back to another video. Welcome to the channel all about recovery, mental and physical health, and rediscovering your freedom and your life. Today I wanted to hop on and record a quick video because we've just had a major breakthrough in the Reset and Recover group. And I know it's going to resonate with so many of you as well. Anyway, the big question that came up in the group was, why do I feel this overwhelming sense of urgency whenever it comes to food? Why do I feel the need to eat all of it the moment I see it? And if not, keep thinking about it for the rest of the day, the week, or the month. Why is food on my mind 24/7? And why do I get super upset when I think others might get there before me? A lot of my clients have shared similar questions with me. In my own experiences, I ask myself similar questions. For example, back when I still lived with my parents, my sister, there were certain foods I felt, I suppose, slightly more attached to, slightly more protective of. I'd feel almost heartbroken if someone ate them before me, yet equally there was a big barrier to me actually eating these foods as well. So where does this actually come from? Why do we feel this overwhelming sense to indulge in these foods right now or put it off forever? And why is that precisely what keeps the cycle going? What kind of mindset does that sound like to you? That's right, the scarcity mindset. For me, this honestly screams scarcity mindset around food, and it makes a lot of sense. For our ancestors, this kind of food scarcity was real. They might not have had food for days on end, and when it was available, they needed to have a lot of it before they then didn't have food for multiple days on end. Nowadays, remnants of that might still linger, or maybe you grew up in a home where diet culture was very much present, or where food was actually scarce or not super freely available. Or maybe none of these things resonates with you, but the eating disorder in and of itself has just conditioned your brain to think that food is scarce, even when really it is not. Because let's be honest, for a lot of us watching this video, food isn't actually scarce. Not outside of the realm of the eating disorder telling us that it's scarce and not allowed and not available to us. Constantly telling ourselves that I can't have this, I'm not allowed that, creates a cycle of, well, scarcity. For some of us, this mindset may lead to binges, may lead to overeating, may lead to really indulging right now, before then telling ourselves that things are off limits. For others, that first part of the equation might not even happen at all, but we do tell ourselves that these foods are off limits, so naturally, what our mind does when things are off limits, we start to obsess over it. Our brains really do go into overdrive. I actually remember a story about a client where he mentioned that a colleague brought in a chocolate cake for his birthday into the office. This client, he was convinced that he wouldn't have any of the cake, but he kept eyeing it up. He kept feeling this tense feeling in his chest whenever someone else took a slice, feeling really torn about missing out, really obsessing over this food, but staying strong and disciplined. He didn't actually end up having any of the cake, but he also didn't end up really doing any work or concentrating on the tasks at hand. He was too focused on the cake, and actually when he went home, he ended up binging and telling himself to be strong and disciplined again the next day. Does any part of that story resonate with you? Because if so, I want to share 3 simple strategies to prevent those episodes of overeating, to prevent the scarcity mindset, and or to prevent overthinking and obsessing about food. Step number 1, ask yourself if food really is scarce. Be honest with yourself. In order to ask yourself this, one of my clients would actually reframe this and ask herself, if I want this food now, can I have it? If not, am I okay with leaving it? Can I get something just as nice or even nicer later and enjoy that then when I actually want it? The answer was almost always yes. Reminding herself that food wasn't scarce, that she had this freedom, that she was allowed this food, helped ease that sense of urgency over time for her. Step 2. If you can't actually get something that's just as nice later, but you also don't actually want the food now, can you take some home with you? Do you need to either stuff yourself or tell yourself this food is off limits? Could you have it later, or could you have a smaller portion? Could you explore that grey area between the black and white? The eating disorder likes to think in extremes, and it's helpful to provide the proof, to tell it that there is actually more to the decision than that sometimes. If I want it later, it'll be there for me. It's not always just now or never. Go hard or go home. And step number 3, this is one that actually helped me a whole lot, one that I relied on a whole lot in my recovery, and that is to ask yourself, what is the recovery aligned choice? When there's so many thoughts going through your head, so many decisions, so many judgments, sometimes it helps to clear through the clutter and ask yourself, what would the eating disorder do? And what would the recovery aligned part of me do? Narrowing it down to those 2 choices makes the decision a whole lot easier. Always the recovery aligned decision. Sure, both of those options might create a little bit of discomfort, but would you rather the discomfort of the eating disorder that keeps you stuck in the cycle, or the discomfort of recovery, which is temporary and does get easier with time? Even if at times going for the recovery aligned option made me eat slightly different foods, slightly more fear foods, slightly more food overall, I knew that on some level it was always the right decision because it meant opposing the eating disorder. So it's never not the right choice for that exact reason. To me, that was really reassuring. And over time, not overthinking these things, making the recovery aligned choice, that all was consolidated, that all became easier, that all became the go-to, so that my brain no longer felt stuck in the cycle it was in before. And yes, it does take time, and consolidating all of this over time. But that's the name of the game. Every time you make a recovery-aligned choice, every time you tell your brain that it's not now or never, that food is no longer scarce, those are powerful signals you're sending to your brain. Those are powerful neural pathways that you're rewiring. Your brain learns that food isn't scarce, the environment is safe. I don't need to obsess over this anymore. And while this might not feel particularly natural at first, while it might be uncomfortable and even scary, it gets easier with time and definitely reduces that sense of urgency with time. In fact, one client shared with me just a couple of days ago how she wasn't really convinced that this would work for her. And when she had first tried it several years ago, she'd found that she was eating quite a substantial amount of chocolate, and in quantities that she just didn't feel comfortable with, and that she'd gained weight from this. So all of these things were telling her, red alert, alarm bells going off. Is by doing it again, trying to at least trust the process, and pushing through without judgment over a longer period of time at a higher and more stable weight, that she found that after that initial period where things feel a bit out of whack, things do actually fall into place again. The urgency around food started to fade. Those cravings shifted. She began to trust herself more. And you deserve that same freedom. Honestly, it's about giving yourself the grace to practice this, knowing that things won't shift overnight, but that they do shift with consistent behavior and thought change. The more you show yourself that food is available, that you're allowed to eat, the more your brain will let go of its obsession, creating the freedom you've been longing for. The freedom you deserve. So next time you feel that rush, you feel that urgency, you notice that obsession, ask yourself, is food really scarce? Where are those beliefs coming from? What am I doing to perpetuate those beliefs, both in my mindset as well as in my behaviors? Is there anything I could change to change that narrative? If any of this resonates, but you're not sure where to start, I've got all the tools, I've got all the support here for you. You're not alone. Balancing your relationship with food is absolutely a journey, a tricky one. But given the right tools and the right support, you too can get there, and you deserve to get there. I've helped a lot of clients get there, and I can help get you there too. From what to eat, to how much, to identifying and challenging those unhelpful thoughts, to building and maintaining a recovery mindset. These are all topics that I dive into depth into in the Reset and Recovery community. For the upcoming group, starting on February 17th, I'm offering a private breakthrough session to each and every single one of you. A session to uncover your limiting beliefs. A session to identify your goals and the steps needed to get there. The tools needed to get there. You'll also gain access to my signature course, which includes 11 recovery supporting modules packed with reflections and actionable exercises. On top of that, you'll benefit from bi-weekly group calls, a group chat, forum page, individual one-to-one support, and monthly coffee and chat Q&A sessions. You should join. You deserve this opportunity to heal, rediscover freedom, and get your life back. Thank you so much for watching, lovies. If you found value in this video, definitely let me know with a thumbs up, subscribe, leave a comment. If you have any questions as well, feel free to let me know below. I'll see you in the next one, and I'll hopefully see you as part of the program. Take care. Link below.